Hey, White Sox fans, Brett Ballantini here, getting to host. Yep, it's a 2-for-1 season, two pregame podcasts in 1 year. Aren't you lucky? This is number 12, home opener, delayed by a day. So right off the bat, got a survey. I have no sense. I stuck my finger out the window. Seemed pretty nice to me. I think I'm wrong with my weather forecast. Joe, Hannah, Malachi, first pitch just minutes away. We going to be able to get this game in? You're not going to get in
Coming
trouble.
to you from about 8 city blocks away from the ballpark right
Mhm.
now. They made the right call by not playing the game today or
Mhm.
tonight. That is for sure. I don't know. Ever since Tom Skilling retired, I just kind of go outside and roll with it. So I'm not going to be of much use there, but I'll be
Yeah,
out there either way. So rain
right,
or rain or shine.
right. Okay. All right, I'll trust that. We're gonna get this game in today. Saturday is another matter. But then again, canceled games these days for the White Sox wouldn't be so bad. If you haven't been paying attention, the White Sox are 1-5. Not so good. You might excuse a tough performance in Milwaukee against the Brewers. Little harder to excuse one win in 3 games in Miami, particularly the way those two losses wrangled out. We're going to get to some of that sort of stuff maybe in our second half, but it could be rolled into right now as well. Concerns 1-5, obviously, that's one, whatever. I'm not good at math, but that's just 6 games in a season. We've got 156 left. Plenty of time to right the ship, but stumbling 1-5 ain't the best thing. And the way they've been doing it, both on paper and sort of maybe in the heart and soul, not real inspiring so far. But that's my answer. How about you three? How you feeling? First impressions, I guess, of this first week of the season.
I'm extremely disappointed with Shane Smith. He just hasn't been able to get anyone out hardly, and he's was the opening day starter. I mean, I'm not hitting the panic button on him just yet, but those were both big yikes of starts
Yeah.
by Smith. Very, very disappointing stuff there, and just the pitching staff in general. I mean, 52 runs allowed in 6 games already. Um, it just feels like no lead is really safe right now. And there was the final game in Milwaukee, of course. I mean, that's a game that they really should have won. Yeah, I mean, they had a surprisingly good outing from
Yeah.
K and the front of the bullpen, but we got to the eighth inning and things just completely slipped away. Yeah, I think that's my biggest takeaway from the first week of the season is just how poor the pitching staff has done. Defense hasn't done much to help them either, but yeah, I think for me the
Somehow we're back on run differential watch. Sorry, Joe, your audio's going in and out a little bit. Yeah, we're back on run differential watch. Go figure. We put that in the rearview mirror. Nope, it's back, rearing its ugly head. Going to surpass last year's run differential in like 3 more games. Malachi, Hannah, vibes the negative type coming out of a 1-5 start to the season.
Definitely worse than last year, but I'm not concerned yet. Just it's really early. But expanding on Joe's point, really not a fan of looking at the bullpen rate or the rotation right now. Excuse me, rotation right now. I guess you could say the same for the bullpen, but rotation especially not being able to get no one being able to go for scoreless innings is not any ideal sign. We'll see if Grant Taylor is just going to be an opener or if he'll actually get a chance to start. He's only had 2 chances to be an opener and no chances to be a real starter. So I'll be curious to see if Venable is already not wasting time to change up the rotation. So that'll be really fun to watch. And I'm sure he'll get shelled, but if he starts, we'll see. We'll see.
Spoiler alert. Hannah says worse start than last year. Again, just to check that, and I'm not questioning it at all, but last year was a 7-23 start. The first month plus of the season was absolutely horrific. Thankfully, they turned it around enough to make people excited enough to think they were going to win, I don't know, 75 games this year. Not me. Malachi, concerns. Uh, New concerns or echoing concerns already brought up by your two co-guests.
Yeah, I think you two said it pretty well. Broadly speaking, it's hard to be crazy concerned yet. I picked them to go 72 and 90 or something like that. And the opening day roster and the opening day lineup is not the reason why I picked them to go 72-90. So I agree that to the degree that you can really be worried about anyone, it might be time to start getting there with Shane Smith, just because one start is one thing, twice maybe a coincidence, but this is something that's going back towards the start of spring training. He just hasn't looked like he knows where the ball is going. So that is a legitimate concern, I think. Otherwise, I think you just got to let the cards play out for a couple more weeks before drawing any serious conclusions.
Yeah, I mean, just 2 games, but Shane Smith going backwards from start one to step two does not inspire confidence. All right, let's flip it because we're just 6 games in and we're White Sox fans. This is a White Sox podcast. Hello out there to all of you White Sox listeners and viewers. What's wrong with you? Why are you doing this? We're doing this because, we're obligated to. But thank you for listening. I'll try not to insult you any further in the remaining 20 minutes we have. Okay, exciting things. What has surprised you? And I mean in a positive way. What has surprised you about these first 6 games? In our hearts, they're 2-4, but in reality, they're 1-5. And unfortunately, us just thinking they're better than 1-5 doesn't really hack. But something that you've been impressed by, even though it's hard. This might be a short list. But something that you've been surprised or impressed by. There's your answer, folks.
I think I've been surprised by how much pitchers are really testing Murakami to chase high fastballs and breaking balls. It's kind of interesting to look at the chart and see just how many pitches have been thrown out of the zone to him.
Mhm.
And he's got a 7-3 strikeout to home run ratio. So if that persists, it definitely will be an all or nothing hitter. But it's just fun to see how much the pitchers really stuck to that scouting report of
Mhm.
him.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he disproves the anticipated problems with velocity. And then, yeah, chasing, testing his eye. I think so far, yeah, you got to be mildly impressed. This could have been this could have been a really, really rough first week for him, and it certainly wasn't that. Joe, Malachi, what you got?
Very happy about Murakami overall. I mean, yeah, the Miami series wasn't, as good as the Milwaukee series for him, of course. Really hard to improve upon that Milwaukee series when he hit a home run in each of the first 3 games of the season. Um, yeah, definitely an all or nothing type of hitter. Overall, though, yeah, the positives are certainly outweighing the negatives at this point. I know it's only a week into the season, but I'll happily take an OPS of over 1,000. And it certainly seems like that market, which really decreased for him over the
Mhm.
offseason, it appears as though the White Sox very well could have gotten one of the biggest steals of the winter. So that's a big plus. Mydroth also has been hitting. He's one of the few other players who's been hitting well. Vargas, I'll give a shout out to as well. Yeah, there have been a few hitters have performed better than I expected them to early on.
Mhm. Enjoy him while you can, White Sox fans, because if he keeps us up, trading deadline might just stab us in the heart. Malachi, what you got in terms of something that just maybe has made you happy, aside from baseball on the South Side here in just mere minutes?
Yeah, the results weren't 100% there, but I was pretty pleasantly surprised with the process that I saw from Anthony Kay on Sunday when I covered his start here. I had not admittedly watched a ton of tape of him this spring. I wasn't really sure what I was getting going in.
Yeah, you were not excited about covering an
I was
Anthony Kay
not
start,
excited about
so
covering Anthony Kay at the end of the last time we all spoke together, if I remember correctly. Yeah, no, I was aware that he'd been brushing, 70, 97 miles an hour or so with his fastball and new sinker in spring training. But 98, and I think he might have even gotten up to 99 once, was not something I saw in the tank from him. He had a really clear approach. His a diverse arsenal that kind of allows him to be two different pitchers against lefties and righties and gives him the tools to get out pretty much any type of hitter. He's got just enough swing and miss stuff on some of his breaking balls and a change up to righties to get by while also having a nice ground ball oriented approach that he can play towards weak contact. The stuff is not overwhelming enough that it's he's not going to be a top of the rotation by, but there's a much greater chance that this does wind up being like a 2014 Eric Fetty situation than I personally thought there would have been a week ago before I saw his stuff
Yeah.
the other day.
So let's reiterate, enjoy him while you can, White Sox fans, because if it's an Eric Petty situation, we will be punching a bus ticket for Anthony K somewhere in July. Okay, let's take a quick break. We're going to look a little bit more specifically at opening day itself, predictions perhaps for the Toronto series, and et cetera, et cetera. Hang with us for a minute. I promise every one of you, we'll be back. White Sox fans, Brett Ballantini here, hosting Pregame Podcast number 12, just mere minutes away. I can even hear the crack of the glove from where I sit. I'm getting hyped. Weather's not great, but you got to play the home opener at some point. And listen, just earlier, I said, geez, why are you listening? What's wrong with you? It's not the first time I've said that to you, dear listeners and viewers. But that said, we know why you're here. It's why we're all here. We love the White Sox. Whether or not you really have extreme fondness for us, you must. You're listening to or watching or both. I guess if you're watching, you probably are listening. So we know why you're here. And thanks for being here with us. By the way, we'll be here, some of us, maybe this collective of now 5 will be hanging out after the game, talking about a stirring White Sox victory over those hated, evil, wonderful Blue Jays. Also welcoming in Melissa Sage-Bollenbach, late to the party. We will not get to hear about her concerns or surprises, which we've already covered, although knowing her, she's probably got notes on it, so she'll probably try to squeeze it in. But what I'd like to drill down to now is just opening day, opening series, not necessarily predictions, but how you expect this team to respond after a very flat start. And before you even get to that, let's drill down into that. I think there's something more than just losses we saw in the opening series, 2 series, and that was perhaps, tell me if your eyes are seeing something different than me. It seems to be a lack of focus. It's a young team. You wouldn't necessarily expect, maybe even at times, a lack of heart. Again, that's not maybe quite fair. I mean, we're talking about, it's a microscope. I admit I'm probably applying the microscope. I'm not wanting to hit a panic button or be terribly negative about the team. I expect this team to be better. We all expect this team to be better than last year and in recent years. That said, there's some distressing signals from the first 6 games, because it's not always how you lose, or even if you win, how do you do it and how are you going about your business? We have Will Venable in charge, a new coaching staff, a lot of youth and a lot of energy. I'd like each of your thoughts on maybe what you saw in the eyes of these players. Again, I know we're not supposed to read their souls, but it's a podcast. We're going to talk about stuff. So impressions, maybe not just results wise, but from maybe a more emotional basis of what you're seeing from this team. And do you think it's going to separate itself from prior years or even be able to match the second half of last year in terms of the desire, the focus, and the execution? Come on now, don't be shy.
Well, I'll just jump in, I guess.
Come on, Melissa.
So I actually went to Miami and was at the game on Tuesday. And I didn't really know much about the Marlins. And just kind of was doing a little research as I was there, and they have a very young team too. And the play between how the young Marlins were playing and how the young White Sox were playing was like, I guess the way I could describe it was a controlled aggressiveness by the Marlins. So they were young, they were energetic, they could like harness and control that like young energy. And like the White Sox just seem like it's not like controlled, like their young whatever energy, if you want to call it, is just like all over the place. And like you were seeing it like with the errors and like the swinging at everything. And I don't know why that is, like, but you could feel it, like it was like tactily you could feel the difference. And I don't know if that's like a coaching thing or what, but that was kind of disturbing to me in terms of what I'm seeing and feeling about this team. And it hadn't hit me until I was sitting in the seats watching two young teams play each other.
And in case you're like, hey, Sage-Bollenbach, what's your deal? You're like in the third deck. Say, no, no, no. Come on, you're going to Miami for this game. She upgraded to the frou-frou stuff, so she was, right there. She was, close to the dugout. This is not, this read. There was some legitimacy to this read, aside from, other than me, I'd be in the fifth deck saying, "Oh man, I can tell they just don't want it." I'd be screaming and nobody be listening, and then they'd ask me to leave. Okay, three others of you. Now I've had time to collect your thoughts on, I don't know, the soul of the 2026 White Sox. Just give me something.
Yeah, I think it's clear that it's going to take a little while for this team to gel, just like it took them a while to gel last year. I was thinking of a play. I believe it was I can't remember which of the two losses it was, but when Luis Angel Acuna and Tristan Peters almost ran into each other, blew a ball in right field, right center field on a fly ball that both of them had to beat on it. As a center fielder, that's Acuna's ball. Peters is just locked in on it. They almost collide. The ball goes into the gap for a double, and I don't exactly remember what point in the game this happened, but it was early on when things were still within reach, and this was one of the things that kind of broke the game open.
Yeah.
And I remember watching the replay several times of that, and you can see as it happens, they almost collide, and Acuna kind of looks over his shoulder at Peters, going almost like, and you can see him kind of being like, "What the hell, man? Like, that's my ball there." And with all due respect to Tristan Peters, it doesn't seem like once some guys like Sam Antonacci, for example, or maybe even a William Bergoyes needs to get bumped up on the roster from AAA. He's probably going to be one of those guys who's going to be on the roster bubble. So they're not there yet, and things like that are happening, and they're snowballing and contributing to lopsided losses. That's the fact that's going to wind up, being cut over the coming weeks, and it's going to be probably a pretty painful process, just like it was last year. But it's not pretty, but that's what we're seeing right now.
All right. There's a little more up talking there from Malachi. So maybe at some point, Joe or Hannah will just be like, they're winning the World Series this year. Okay, are we going to continue to escalate this? Joe, Hannah, your vibe, sort of, the stuff between the ears or in the heart.
I I was there for first two games in Milwaukee, and
I'm
it was
sorry.
yeah, I'm sorry too.
Yeah.
It was this feeling that everyone had. I'm sure that they had, that they just felt like they were letting everyone down. Like that was the vibe it felt like, of like, man, we're supposed to be better than this, and we're losing 14-2.
Yeah. And
Like
let's be clear, Hannah, they were
that
letting everybody down. I mean, not the 40,000 Milwaukee fans, but they were. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, well, it was very obvious, and watching some of Colson's swings, like just looking like he was just grasping at straws, it felt very much like, come on, guys, we're in our, like, they're in their heads trying to be like, no, this can't be happening again this year. That's what it felt like being there and watching them.
Hmm. Joe?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, there's not too much to be positive about at this point in terms of, the team's identity. Granted, this is a very, very there are a lot of new faces on this team, and you know, I would have thought that by opening day that, they would have meshed better together. They would have figured out some of these issues during spring training. By the time that the, regular season comes around, and that was, I thought, a very good point by Malachi. Like, we shouldn't be having these kinds of communication issues on fly balls like that. Um, and overall, yeah, just doesn't quite seem like there's very much camaraderie. That's just sort of my read on, the sort of the team's interactions up to this point. Uh, there's still a lot of time to, fix things up. But yeah, it just kind of felt like a week where, just about whatever could go wrong almost did. You know, 1 in 5, when you're getting blown out by double digits multiple times is never leaves a good taste in your mouth. And I think the key is just not letting that spiral. Take this day off. Lick your wounds and come out and start fresh on Friday.
Not to put it on the coaching staff, but I mean, especially with the young team, maybe with a couple well-placed or, well, they're there, veterans. I mean, it's contingent on the coaching staff to show the way. It's not on them. There's arguments that managers, bear almost no real impact on wins and losses. I don't subscribe to that, but I mean, you could certainly make that argument. They're not on the field, but at some point, I mean, Will Venable improved the team by 20 whatever wins, and that's great. They lost a ton of close games. I think at some point, we are going to need to see whether it be tough love, some example of leadership that's demonstrable. And again, I'm not picking on the guy, and I'm sure I'm talking way out of my depth here, but I will say among the five of us, and it's not that any of you aren't, I'm pretty concerned about this team running out the same way. I want to catch Malachi's coattails and say, you know what, in the second half, this team is going to be markedly different. And there's no argument they're going to be at least a couple guys up, but there are probably also going to be a couple guys gone. I'm just really not sure we're going to be seeing in September stuff that's much different than what we're going to see in April. I hope and pray, and for my own sanity, I hope and pray that we will, but I'm a little cynical about that at the moment. And so I'm hosting a White Sox podcast. To that end, it is opening day. Again, I've been saying this. We're mere minutes. I don't know, there's some delay maybe going on. We're mere minutes away from first pitch. We're jacked. This is excitement. Win number 2 is on the horizon. And then after that, 3, 4, who knows? We could be better than 500 team second week of April. Go figure. Drill down to a Toronto series as the defending AL pennant winners. White Sox got a sort of tough draw here to start the season. Yeah, sure, Marlins, except they're white hot. I don't know, maybe the White Sox had something to do with that. But come on, Brewers, Blue Jays, not the easiest draw, even though the Blue Jays just lost the series to the Rockies. Sorry, shouldn't giggle. Rockies ain't hardly any worse than us. But what are you seeing in opening day? Are you having a good feeling about how today's game is going to go in terms of a W? And how does that maybe extend to the series? Easy pick, of course, is 1 win, 2 losses. Be careful about picking that because we did out a week ago and it did not work out. So choose your record carefully. But how do you see opening day playing out? And do you think this team, maybe more broadly on this homestand, are going to show us some strides toward righting a ship that already's got a couple holes poked in the hull?
Dylan Cease revenge game.
Hey,
Yeah.
yikes.
I don't think it's going to go very well for us. Yeah, I think he's going to dig out his poem, slide
Right.
or whatever it was. Yeah, I think it opening the home opener is not going to be pretty. And I went 1-3 last time. I'm going 0-3 with what I've seen the first 6. I can't say that I've seen anything that gives me hope that they can beat a team as good as the Blue Jays. Especially Blue Jays, just got beat by the Rockies, so they're going to be really mad.
Yeah. you're embracing the cynicism fully, Melissa, which is only right for someone who took a long trip down to see a very disheartening and lackadaisical loss. Dylan Cease's painting now too, so don't just try and pigeonhole the man. Yeah, he might be writing poems, in between innings. He might also be, dabbling. Might be getting his oils out in the clubhouse. Who's to say? An artisan. Of course, the White Sox had to let him go. Okay, other predictions. It can't be as bad as what Melissa is saying. So, anybody got anything brighter than that?
They'll win on
I mean,
Saturday. Anthony Kay, this time they're going to actually hold on to the lead after his
Ooh.
decent start. The bullpen will hold up its end of the bargain, not allow 6 runs in an inning. They'll win that game.
All right.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely don't like the idea, or I mean, I would like the idea of them winning the game against Dylan Cease, but I don't think it will happen. I don't like their chances in that one. Um, that doesn't mean, the Sox, they will have some good returns in that trade. I still feel pretty confidently
Yeah,
that
you
they will do
do.
that.
You of all people, Joe.
Yes.
Yes, you do.
Um,
You just slap a name Zavala on there, and goodness gracious, it's going to be a win of a trade for the White Sox.
exactly. But yes, yeah, they will. Yeah, I don't anticipate them getting swept. They'll find a way to win one of the 3 games, and I anticipate it being Saturdays. But we will see. Hopefully, they win the series. But yeah, I agree. It's tough to be optimistic at this point in time.
Opening day here, getting ready to roll in just a minute or two. And yeah, White Sox have waved and missed at pitches and pitchers much weaker than Dylan Cease. So they might not match 20 strikeouts as they did in the other opening day. By the way, a record for a 9 inning game in the White Sox. Not opening day. Oh, on any day. Well done, White Sox. Already in the record books. Hannah, Malachi, what's the vibe? Hannah, you in particular, you've already been burned once, so I wouldn't blame you for if you're gonna like skew negative here, but
No,
uh,
I'll take one win.
one, all right.
I'm partial to Saturday. I'll be at Saturday's game. So I am partial to seeing Anthony Kay get his first win. And
Hmm.
in Melissa, I also in my notes had Dylan Cease revenge game because his last outing against the Sox was what was it? 4 runs, 6 hits, and a loss. So he will be back and he'll probably blank the Sox is my guess. But I have Saturday's game circled as a win or penciled very lightly penciled in as a win, and then and then
It's the only way you can do
today
it.
and Sunday as a loss.
All right. Um, okay. Malachi, are you seeing a one of three situation? Sorry, you're gonna miss Anthony K by a day, but hey, that's just the way the rotation tumbles.
Yeah, tomorrow has, or I'm sorry, today has Dylan Cease revenge game written all over it, which is why I love the move of opening with Grant Taylor because I see a world where, Dylan Cease comes out and just absolutely mows down the first 5 or 6 hitters. And I love Sean Burke, but Sean Burke is not doing what Dylan Cease is doing. And all the energy goes out, and they're just dead in the water. Grant Taylor can match Dylan Cease blow for blow for an inning or two if anybody on the White Sox pitching staff does. So you know what? Let Dylan Cease come out and have his revenge game. Let Grant Taylor keep the vibes up, keep the electricity going, keep them in it for a few innings, and then you know what? Maybe we're actually in that game. So you know what? I don't know what it's going to be. I'll also give them 1 of 3. Not can can't
That's
couldn't tell you which one, but they'll find
yeah,
a way.
yeah, yeah. I mean, let's face it, any team in the major league should be taking one a series. Unfortunately, that might be what the White Sox are limited to this year, as they have been very often in past years, including what was an incredibly lackadaisical and disheartening start to the season in the Will Venable era a year ago. So let's hope that doesn't get duplicated and they can somehow eke out more than 7 wins in the first month and change of the season. That's what we're aiming for. 1-5 start, not the best start toward it. It's not a great pace, but righting the ship is on the agenda and getting to play a little bit at home. Not disappointing Hannah, who will be scrutinized, looking down her nose at this team saying, okay, step up, fellas. You're 0 for 2 in terms of pleasing me so far. If we were to collectively loop everyone in, it's at least 0 and 3 with Melissa's debacle in Miami. So White Sox, it's time to produce for the Southside Sox and Sox Populi staff. All right, this is not exactly a variance from what we've been talking about, I suppose, this whole podcast. And I'm gonna try to start positive. So I'm gonna go right to Malachi because he has a sense that I don't know, second half, this team is going to put it together more than maybe first half with what will be some new blood on the team and some fat cut. Um, does this start of the season, again, whether it's my pointed question about seeing into the souls of the White Sox and being disappointed, or just simply the record, has this start to the season altered your feeling about how the season is going to play out, your win estimates, players who are going to step up and come through? Colson started a horrible, basically made it all up, certainly in the season, made it all up in like a game. And, now he's sort of slumping a bit again. I know, small sample size, but Malachi, has anything that's happened here in this first week? I don't know. Is it somehow even improving your outlook on what is going to happen this season or other concerns?
Yeah, kind of circling back to what we said at the very beginning, the sample size is just too small for me to budge on principle on the things that I spent, weeks and weeks and months thinking the things about in the off
You're not
season.
just throwing it out like I do. Come
Exactly.
on.
I do put some consideration into my preseason predictions, and I'm not, not one to throw those out after one bad stretch that just kind of sticks out because it's the start of the season. But like I
Yes.
said earlier, I mean, I'm someone who picked Shane Smith to be the most valuable pitcher on the White Sox staff this year, and I'm already pretty immensely regretting that decision. I think the most valuable pitcher on the Sox staff this year isn't even on their staff right now. So
Yeah.
that's I guess that's one thing I would change. But other than that, I'm staying the course. Let's talk again in 2 weeks. Let's talk again after a homestand when we can really assess the cohesiveness of the team and let the dust settle from whether this is just a stumbling start or whether it's oh shit we're like 2-12 again territory.
Yeah. See, so in other words, dear listeners and viewers, this repartee is going to just be going on all year between me and Malachi, where I say, "Okay, are you ready to jump yet?" And Malachi's going to say, "No, no, that pitch. I know it's August, but that pitcher is still the most valuable pitcher, still not with us yet. You just
If
wait.
it's
It's going
August
to be a
it means
September
I'm right,
call up."
so
Yeah, it does mean you're right. Okay, Melissa, we sort of didn't get, I guess, a vibe check from you, given that you were stuck in the green room enjoying the vegetables and dip a little longer than the rest of us. So yeah, what is the first week sort of done to you and your spirit? It's helped your travel miles, but maybe not much else.
Yeah, baseball is an emotional game for me, and so I tend to ride the high. I go from Sox Fest to spring training, and I get all hyped and I get all excited, and then I quickly get it sucked right out of me when,
Yeah.
especially when I go and like the vibes, you guys were just so bad.
Mhm.
And so yeah, it helped at least that we had the nice bougie seats, but. So I'm not like Malachi. I'm not going to like change my tune drastically yet. I mean, I still said, I was super excited about Munetaka Murakami, and I still am. He is a bright spot, and so I'm going to enjoy that. And I'm not ready to like completely be like, yeah, we're losing 100 games again. Here we go. It's starting all over. But the shine and the excitement of Sox Fest and spring training has definitely quickly worn off.
Okay. Hannah, you've looked death in the eyes twice in Milwaukee. Has it adjusted your entire outlook towards this team and season?
No, I stand by my predictions. Now, if everybody comes up from Charlotte and this is still the same play,
Mm,
that's a different story, but I am waiting for Charlotte to I'm waiting for Charlotte to empty its top pitchers before I change my tune.
Talk about changing tunes. When have we ever said in our entire adult lives, boy, we're just waiting for some good stuff from Charlotte. Wow. It's just yeah, it's amazing. Jaw dropping. Okay, Joe, we don't got much time. I'm not going to exactly corral you to a yes, no, but how has your vibe changed and would you like to erase all of your predictions for the season?
I'm with Malachi on the Shane Smith one. I think it's very, very
Yeah,
unlikely.
me
He's
too.
off to about a negative .5 WAR, quote unquote, head start already, and he's pitched 4 and 2/3 innings. Other than that, I mean, I feel like that's the only one that really comes to mind as being like, oh, dang it, that's a really,
Yeah.
really bad prediction. Like it's been 6 games. I knew that there would be bad weeks along the way. This was one of them. I didn't think the first week of the season would be one of those really bad weeks. I thought they'd have some energy early on and they'd avoid a disaster. But overall, not too much has changed from my standpoint.
All right, all you dear listeners and viewers, shut off your podcaster machine now. Go watch the White Sox. Enjoy a great stirring win. Sorry, Dylan Cease, you're just gonna have to wait for a win from your former team. Sorry, you're gonna end up disappointed. So we will please join us for the 2-4 White Sox postgame podcast, where I'm sure at least some of these folks you see right here will be joining me to talk about what was a stirring victory through whatever it was, wintry mix, a drizzle, maybe a little poke and sunshine through, and maybe even, who knows, like a concession check or something like that. We'll talk about all that stuff in the postgame podcast. Oh, I don't know, just a mere 4 or 5 hours from now. So please hang with us during that time. Thank you for joining us this time.